Okay, so now we're gonna move on to example 2, which is very similar. So it says the Bay Area is known to be the first city in the United States to go on lockdown in order to prevent more cases of coronavirus. This is true, and actually San Francisco is the first city to call a lockdown in the United States. Now, right now, the Bay Area has a total of 3,800 cases. Los Angeles did not go on a lockdown until more than a week after the Bay Area, which is true. Right now, they have 6,360 cases of the coronavirus. What is the percentage of the Bay Area cases compared to the cases in Los Angeles? Okay, so technically here we are comparing two numbers. Okay, now what I'm comparing is the Bay Area to Los Angeles, and so this actually might make it a little bit difficult to figure out the percent, and the whole. So I'm gonna go ahead and write it. I'm going to do the part, the percent. We already know that we have to find the percent, so I'm going to put an X here, and this is going to be the whole. Okay, now, because we want to find out, here's what it's asking. What part of the Bay Area, what percentage of it is of Los Angeles, which means that the cases in Los Angeles is going to be our total, is going to be our whole, the initial value. And this is because we're comparing the Bay to Los Angeles. So this is going to be 6,360. That is the whole. And on the top, we're going to write down. And just so we know that the initial value always represents the whole. Even though, in this context, it doesn't really matter. It kind of just matters what the question is asking us. And the part, which is the final value, as we mentioned, is the Bay Area has 3,800 cases. Now this is true. I ended up looking up how many cases in Los Angeles, how many cases in San Francisco, the Bay Area right now. Now, okay, we're gonna write as, remember, our CFS. So I identified my part and my whole. And now I'm gonna write my equation, in which is part equals the percent. And this time I'm gonna put parentheses to represent multiplication times the whole. So we're going to substitute. We're going to put 3,800 because that is my part, right? So we're going to put 3,800 equals, the percent is X multiplied by the whole, which is 6,360. All I did was just substitute 6,360 for the whole. And then we're going to rewrite it because the coefficient should always be, did I say, yeah, to the left of the variable. So I'm just rewriting it here. 6,360 times X. And if we want to find the percent, I'm going to divide on both sides. So I figure out what is 1x. Okay. And we get 1x here because any number divided by itself is 1. And then I'm going to divide. These are, again, big numbers, so we're just going to use our calculator. And we have 3,800 divided by 6,360. Okay, so what happens here is we get this humongous number. Now, if we see this number, we are going to round. Now, when you round, we always want to be in the hundredth place, which is 9, right? This is my ones, this is my tenths, this is my hundredths, and I'm going to round to the hundredth place, which means I need to look at the number in the thousandths. So if my number in the thousandths is 5 or greater, that means I'm going to round up 1. So here, because 7 is greater than 5, I'm going to round up here to the next number, and the next number after 59 is 60. So I'm actually going to put this right here is going to be 0.60 because I rounded. And we're going to do a squiggly because this squiggly means approximately. It's not exactly 0.6 or 60 hundredths or 0.60. It's like about 60 hundredths because we ended up rounding. Okay, so this squiggly line looks like an equal sign, but you're kind of saying like it's not exactly that number, it's about that number. So if I have 60 hundredths, remember, do not fall in this category where you're putting 0.6%. That is absolutely incorrect. We still have to convert this into a percent by multiplying. Anytime you want to convert a decimal to a percent, by multiplying by 100, and 60 hundredths times 100. Remember, we move the decimal twice to the right because my number gets bigger. And because we're multiplying by 100, we're moving it twice, my decimal twice. That's going to give me 60%. So here it would be 60%. So the Bay has about 60% cases of Los Angeles, which is, you know, we basically have about half, right? So if this is 60%, we have like a little bit more than half, or less than, how do I say this? We have a little bit more than half of LA's cases, which means that like it was a very, very, very smart decision that the Bay Area went on lockdown. You have to think about it, like it's kind of crazy because LA went a week after and they're almost double how much we have just because they went a week after on lockdown, and that's how much coronavirus cases doubled, which is why like obviously it really sucks to have social distancing and be on lockdown, but if you see, we have half the cases or a little bit more than half the cases of Los Angeles, but they're almost like double just because of 1 week of not being on lockdown. So we got to think about it that way. Now, I'm just going to stamp what we did so that you understand what you need to do for independent practice. Number 1, you need to remember that you are determining what is my part, my percent, and the whole, which is the initial value and the final value. You write your equation, and then you're going to substitute your values, and anytime you want to find the percent, you'll notice that you are dividing the part with the whole, the final value with the initial value. And last, you're going to get a decimal, and you're going to convert that decimal into a percent by multiplying by 100. These are the steps that you need to do to be successful, and you now should be ready for part 2, which is the independent practice. So after you fill this out, you're going to go ahead and press next.